stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference.
Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of the All Around Growth Podcast. My name is Rob Kaiser, and I am your host. Today, we are going to talk about how to find your purpose in life. Now, I know that many of you out there may be skeptical of that claim, and I don't blame you. I fully understand that an introduction with a claim like that can be perceived as quite bold, because it is. I firmly believe that hard work performed consistently delivers consistent results. However, results may not really matter if we don't really understand what we're working for. I have come to believe that when we create a clear plan and decide what's important to us and act, it becomes much easier to perform this work, and the results we seek often come naturally. Finding a process to create that clear plan, though, that's often the issue. So, how do you do this? Now, some might suggest setting goals, and that's certainly not a bad start. But how do you do that? So if you try searching for how to set goals in your search engine of choice, you'll be inundated with results on tips, suggestions, and material from all sorts of sources. Now, the internet can be a resourceful, but also an overwhelming place. It's easy to get caught up in all the crap out there when it comes to looking for quality material. Now, over the years, I've spent a considerable amount of time thinking about goals. The idea of setting goals began in childhood, playing and competing in various sports in school, and goals really began to be an integral part of my life as I grew into my career, especially during the corporate years. When we would go through these exercises during strategic planning sessions, I was always fascinated about these exercises and oftentimes would think about how they could apply to one's personal life. However, my personal life was always that which was sacrificed during the pinnacle of my career, right? It was also at this point, while I'm learning all of this, that I experienced my very first burnout, and might even go so far as to say that was rock bottom with regard to my physical health and wellness, where I was tipping the scales at more than 100 pounds, where I currently am at this moment today. Now, all of this knowledge that I had seemed good and was good in theory, but I had tremendous difficulty applying it in real life. So fast forward another decade or so, and another burnout, my personal life, chasing other people's dreams and trying to make their goals my reality. At the time, this seemed like a recipe for success in developing a small farm and homestead, right? But the truth was, it was a recipe for disaster and tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And finally, I wised up and began simplifying things a few years ago, finally understanding that a life that embraced the concepts of sustainability and regenerative landscapes could not be fueled by debt. Now, some people are comfortable operating this way and maybe even can make it work. But personally, the financial debt that I was accruing to make the reality that I wanted to have happen seemed to be the antithesis of anything resembling sustainability. So in 2017, I committed to Financial Peace University, and I lived that grind, that gazelle intensity that Dave Ramsey talks about, hard for a few years until I paid off the last of my credit card, a Discover credit card, in June of 2020. And then just a few months later, I began this show as you know it now. So shortly afterwards, I decided to join the 48 Days Eagles community and was exposed to the goal setting guide that we are going to talk about today. Later that year, at this time, I worked through that guide for the first time. And today, we're going to go through it together. So, for those of you who are listening to this in audio form, I'm recording this episode on video, and I will be sharing my screen so that you guys can actually see the workbook and take a look at it yourself and learn visually if it's something you might actually be interested in before submitting your email address to download it or have it emailed to you for download. But so before we get into that, I'd like to briefly mention the sponsors of today's show, York Meadow Farm and Food Forest Farm. Now, York Meadow Farm produces handcrafted batches of probiotic-rich fermented foods and natural bath and body products scented with pure essential oils. Listeners of this show will receive 25% off at checkout by using the discount code AllaroundGrowth. So if you like this show and what you take away from it, please consider purchasing the bath and body products that you guys are already using at home from us at York Meadow Farm. I will say that they are a little bit more expensive than the products that you are most likely currently using. But I will also say that the products that we make are most likely a far higher quality, and the bar soaps specifically last a long time due to the length of time that we cure them. So in terms of, return on investment, if you will, for bar soaps, I think that in the long game, you'll find that you may actually be paying less for the soap that you use, have a higher quality soap that's made from all natural ingredients while supporting this show, my family, and our community and everything that we're building here. So consider giving any of them a try, along with any of the delicious and nutritious fermented foods we have to offer. And also check out the new merch page, which is something new that we're experimenting with, where you can pick up coffee mugs, water bottles, aprons, and new products that we are adding daily. So as we get ready for the holidays and you want some cool gifts for people and you want to support us and you want to, promote us with our logo as well, and check out the store. Also, Food Forest Farms, I want to take a moment to thank everybody over there for providing us the ability to live stream the show. And for those of you who listen to the show regularly, you know that live streaming is a new element that we've introduced to the show, and that wouldn't be possible without the help from Food Forest Farms. Now, Food Forest Farms, not only do you get high quality coffee, but you are exposed to free markets and free minds, along with free minds and free markets. So check out foodforestfarms.com to learn more. But right now, let's get into it. All right. I'm going to be sharing some key points and takeaways from this workbook and why I think it's of value. I want to share it with you because this workbook is available for free. And since I received so much benefit from it over the last 12 months, and I plan on going through this process, well, it's not that I plan on going through this process. I'm actively going through this process, and we'll talk more about this process and the timeline associated with it and having it done by Monday, which is part of the reason why we're doing this episode today, so that you can learn more about this, download it, get to work, and then join us on Monday as we move forward with the next step. But whether you actually join us, again, we'll talk about that more at the end. Ultimately, I want you to download this guide because of how much it impacted my life. And quite frankly, I just want to share the experience with you. I want to share the workbook with you so that you can experience something similar because, like I said, I know how much it's impacted me, and the least I can do is take some action to basically give back what was so freely given to me. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's get into the workbook. All right. So for those of you watching and for those of you listening, I would encourage you to go check out the video, which I will link to in the show notes. But I've got the workbook up on the screen, on the video screen, and it's titled The Goal Setting Workbook by Dan Miller, Dream, Plan, Act. And in big, bold text on the very first page, outside of the cover, the second page, if you will, reads, "The best way to predict your future is to create it." Okay? So think about that, guys. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Now, I'm not going to read all of this with you or to you, but I am going to share some points that stand out to me. For example, have you taken responsibility for the way this year has gone for you? Or have you pointed fingers at the economy, the pandemic, the government, the company, your spouse? We then read, "I'm convinced we can create a massive ripple effect to contribute to the solutions for a better life for ourselves, our families, our country, and ultimately the world." Again, bold claims. These aren't my words, but also over time, these are words that I've come to believe as well, because I am convinced that we can do this. Small change on an individual basis, consistently created throughout societies, result in large societal and cultural large societal and cultural change. We can't and shouldn't talk about and tell others to keep their side of the street clean when we can't even, keep our own homes clean, our own bodies clean, our own minds clean. Moving on, there's references to The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. We become what we think about. And understanding that this basic principle from the classic message is something that had a profound impact on Dan Miller, also from Ohio. And it's something that continues to shape his life and his thinking today. And for those of you who aren't aware of what The Strangest Secret is, it's an audio recording by Earl Nightingale from the 1950s, and it is profound and life-changing, and I would encourage you to check it out. More quotes by Zig Ziglar, quotes about indecision, quotes about why goals are important, and understanding that as we move forward, your life has meaning only when you are working toward goals that you have decided on. Success is the progressive realization of worthwhile goals, a quote by Earl Nightingale. And the reason we're talking about goals and we're approaching them in this way is, in order for your purpose in life to be fulfilled, you must set goals in multiple areas. Success is not just career or financial. Family, physical, and spiritual are equally important areas of achievement. They are part of the same whole, balanced person. This is the whole person concept to the 48 days to the work and life you love approach. A book that was paramount in helping me transition out of my day job into the reality that I'm currently living. A book that I think can be helpful for anyone at any stage in life. And the author of that book has assembled this goal setting guide. And subsequently, this has played a big role in my life as well. Let's move on. Again, the framework for this entire process is based on this meeting 3 years from today. If we were to meet 3 years from today, what has to have happened during that 3-year period for you to feel happy about your progress? What are the biggest challenges you'll have to face and deal with in order to achieve that progress? What are the biggest opportunities you have that you can focus on and capture to achieve those things? And finally, what strengths will you need to reinforce and maximize? And what skills and resources will you need to develop that you don't currently have in order to capture those opportunities? Okay, so these are the questions that we begin with before we even look at anything related to the goals that we're going to set. Okay, so chew on this. The beauty of this goal setting guide is that you can print it out. Not only can you print it out, but as you can see, it's an editable PDF. And first of all, we begin with setting financial goals. We set financial goals first because more often than not, these are the most tangible goals that we have, the easiest goals that we can set. And it sort of gets us into the framework for other goals. Again, we're looking at 3 years out. How much are we going to have in the bank? What are we going to earn? What are we going to be driving? What are we going to have purchased? What are we going to be investing? All of this is specific and personal to you, but this provides a good framework to plan it out. And what I do is, I don't have it handy, but I have this printed out on a clipboard so I can sit down with a coffee and just write down what comes to mind. Once I've got it written down with a pen, I sit down and then I'll fill out this editable PDF and then continue to review it and update it as time goes on. After we look at 3-year goals, we look at 1-year goals. And we can be specific about this. How much do you want to increase your income over the next 12 months? And then beginning today, there's some examples of what you can do. Saving, developing a side hustle, and giving. Giving is important. Giving is important. Giving is important. In order to receive, we must give. I want to make this very clear. I did not make the traction that I did with regard to my finances and my debt until I began to give. I'm not going to tell you how to give, but I am going to say that to get started down this road, I fully subscribed to the methodology prescribed by Dave Ramsey in the baby steps. I still do to this day. And until I find a superior methodology, I will continue to work that program. So whether or not you subscribe to Dave Ramsey or not, I still think giving is a very important part of the equation. Moving on. After we set our financial goals, we talk about and set physical goals. Okay. And we ask ourselves questions about, do we take long walks? Are we living a balanced life? Can we give ourselves time? We talked about this yesterday with stretching, beginning with just 5 minutes a day. Listen to episode number 462 of the All Around Growth podcast on squatting to learn more about what you can do and how you can begin simple movement exercises. If 30 minutes is too much, you can start with 5. But we're talking about 3-year plans again with nutrition, with regard to nutrition, aerobic health, cardiovascular system, muscle tone. And then 1-year goals. How much do we weigh? And beginning today, what can we do? Exercise 4 times a week, get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and think about why you enjoy vitality, health, and the energy that comes as a result of that. After physical goals, we talk about personal development, like knowledge, education, self-improvement. Your success, financial and otherwise, will never far exceed your personal development. Start doing something that you've put off because of the risk of failure. How many books will you read this year? Maybe learn a new language. Think about 3-year goals. Dan Miller suggests if you invest 3 to 5% of your income in personal development, you can put yourself on the path to success that most people never experience. Personally, after I got out of debt, I consider my membership in the 48 Days Eagles community to be part of that investment in myself towards my personal development. It helped provide the structure for today's show, as a matter of fact. And that's not just Dan's word of advice. That's from Brian Tracy. Quote, "Here is a rule that will guarantee your success and possibly make you rich. Invest 3% of your income back into yourself." Close quote. Brian Tracy. Over the next 3 years, we talk about what we have read, what we've studied, what we have learned. Speaking of all of this, if you're not sure where to start, there are book studies in the 48 Days Eagles community, book lists, sub-communities. It's a fantastic place to learn and connect with people who are doing things that you're doing. For example, I want to move forward with some ideas on a dog poo scooping business. Yep, that's right. I want to pick up dog poo. I will be fully exploring those options within that community and other communities. Within personal development, we move in 1-year goals and talk about things like joining local organizations, whether it's, community organizations, speaking at different places, reading, studying, attending, things that we can do today and this week. After personal development, we're looking at family goals and our relationship to others, the development of children, and where we want to live. A lot of this, in terms of where we want to live, many of us are exiting and building and moving on with our lives. And this is also applicable to people who are doing that. The second law of thermodynamics is that things left to themselves tend to deteriorate. Great relationships just don't happen. They come as the result of making deposits toward the success you want. You've got to work towards relationships. So with family, we think about what vacations we're going to take this year, goals for free time with family and friends, maybe turning some time that we spend watching a TV show or playing video games, maybe spending that time with your spouse, your child, or a friend. Don't say that you want to be a better mom or dad or parent. Define what that means. You may decide to spend 20 minutes each night with your child, or one Saturday morning a month doing what he or she wants to do? How about scheduling one overnight event with your spouse every quarter? Have a date night. One quote that really stands out to me with this reads as follows: "Family is the smallest form of government. The current challenges in our government are merely a reflection of the breakdown of the American family. We start with the family and work up, not the other way around." Just like all other goals, we talk about 3-year goals, talk about what we will be doing, 1-year goals, and what we're going to do today. After we set our family goals, we talk about spiritual goals, personal commitments, theological understandings, meditation. Spirituality doesn't have to be about church. If that turns you off, make it about something else. If the word God turns you off, substitute the word universe. Do whatever works for you. But regardless of whatever term you use, the question that we're asking ourselves is, can you say that you are now living out your purpose for your life? The way that this question is written is, can you say that you are now living out God's purpose for your life? And personally, when I started thinking about my life through this lens instead of what I want to do, and started thinking about what was I put here to do, what is the purpose for me, and what can I do to go about making that happen? When I started thinking outside of myself, things started to become easier. And the next question, surprisingly or not surprisingly, reads, what are you a part of that goes beyond yourself? This goes back to being involved in organizations, whether that's a church, whether that's a fraternal organization, whether that's volunteering with the Salvation Army or with other community organizations. What are you a part of that goes beyond yourself? Questions like, how have you handled a crisis this last year? And are you comfortable taking steps of faith, or are you more comfortable with what you have already seen? These are all questions that we ask ourselves and think about and reflect on before we get into the goal setting aspect of spirituality. And then we talk about 3-year goals and how we develop our daily devotional meditation and reflection time. Like, what are you doing? How are you spending time on yourself? We've got plans to write that out and space to write that out and think. Goals of planning a spiritual retreat. Thinking about ways that you can grow and expand your faith by reading and doing things today. Finally, we move into next we move into the social aspect of things, where we talk about maybe increasing our number of friends, community involvement, things like that. We read a quote by Benjamin Disraeli: "The greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own." With regard to social goals, we want to change our old attitudes. We want to discard past negatives. We want to ask for forgiveness. Make things right with people whom you need to forgive or who need to forgive you. Choose someone you could care for or be a mentor to. And then make the effort to work on this relationship starting today. A lot of focus on relationships as we read throughout this guide. Again, we've got goals looking out 3 years, talking about serving in organizations, developing friendships with people over the next year, and beginning today, things that we can do to actively move forward with this. And finally, last, this is important. not least, but last, we talk about our career, ambitions, dreams, and hopes. Why? Because this is an outcome of knowing what you want in the other 6 areas. Your career should be a reflection of the life you want. Once you decide on the life you want, it becomes obvious what kind of work embraces that. We want to help you plan your work around the life you want. So, in doing so, we think about our unique skills and abilities, personality traits and values, dreams and passions. This isn't just about making money and advancing our career. It's about making our career an integral part of our life and vice versa. And just like any other aspect of our life, we look at careers in terms of 3-year goals and asking ourselves questions like, what would a perfect workday look like? And then further breaking it down into 1-year goals. For example, do you need any new training or skills? What can you work on? And beginning today, what can you write? What can you develop? What can you do today? And as we get towards the end of this, the quote that really stands out to me the most from all of this reads as follows, and it's a quote by James Michener. The master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he is always doing both. In order for your purpose in life, your calling to be fulfilled, you must set goals in multiple areas. Success is never just in career or financial areas. Set your goals for success and balance in family, social, physical, and spiritual areas of your life as well. So, how do we do this? What do we do next? You've got to have some response in each of these categories. So write something down. We want to have this done by Monday, okay? And then we want to put it away for 2 weeks. We want to put it away for 2 weeks, and then we want to just stew on it. Let it simmer up here. You want to write everything down, get it out, and then put it away. And then come December 1st, after Thanksgiving, we can revisit it, tweak it up during the month of December, so that by the time January 1st, by the time the holidays roll around, Christmas, you can relax knowing that once November 1st, January 1st rolls around, you can spring into the new year, leap into the new year with enthusiasm, knowing that your goals and everything that you want to do is already outlined, and it's just a matter of taking action and executing upon the work that you've already done. So do this today. Check out the links in the show notes to download the workbook. Do the work. If all of this sounds appealing, there will be another link in the show notes for an invitation to a Zoom call on Monday with Dan Miller. I will be there along with many other people where we're going to go over this and talk about what's next. And if all of this sounds appealing and you want more, the 48 Days Eagles community will be open for membership on Monday for 48 hours, because right now it's closed, it's capped. They only work it with a select number of people. Just to keep it limited. right? It's better that way. Trust me. It's not inundated with a bunch of garbage and trash and spam. It's a good community with good people doing good work. And I'll be talking with one of those people next week. So I'm excited to share more with you about that. But more on that later. That's what the final part of this worksheet talks about. The 48 Days Eagles community can help you serve, or can help you, or can help serve as an accountability for you and help you find people that are very specific to whatever it is that you're working on. Content creation, your thing, there's plenty of them there. Manufacturing product, that's your thing, plenty of people there. Management of people and teams, plenty of people there. Coaching, plenty of people there. Actual working in jobs and trying to find a way to transition out of that or to further develop a side hustle, plenty of people there. So check it out. And that's really all I've got with regard to the goal setting workbook. As you can see, and as you saw, there's plenty of good information in there. The workbook is available for free. I'll link to it in the show notes. It'll be in the description below for people that are watching the video. All the links that I mentioned that are in the show notes will also be in the description below. And guys, please consider taking a moment to download this workbook and take action to change your life. No matter what time, whenever you're listening to this, now, in the future, whenever you stumble across this video, download that workbook, do the work, and understand that this isn't just about New Year's goals or New Year's resolutions. This is about taking consistent action to repattern and reprogram your life. I didn't grow up learning and understanding the things that I know and understand now. And most likely in the future, the things that I know and understand now aren't going to be the things that I act upon and live and execute upon in the future. The only constant in my life is change. But moving forward, one thing that I do know is the change and the things that I'm exposing myself to in order to facilitate that change in my life. I'm exposing myself to things like the 48 Days community and this goal setting workbook. This is worth it. So check out the show notes, check out the description, and I promise you it will be a valuable resource and one that will likely empower you to not only change your life, but find your purpose, your calling, and a way to begin living your passion. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.
In a world of pain, what can I do? The needs are many and answers a few. People turn away and I wonder why. If I can help somebody, then I want to try. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love. And truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. If we stand together, we'll never fall. Loving